Mic check!
Mic check!
Mic check!
Mic check!
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Angela.
We now have time for questions.
We now have time for questions.
Fraley will take Stack.
Fraley will take Stack.
Please make sure she gets your eye contact.
Please make sure she gets your eye contact.
Come and tap her from behind.
Tap her from behind.
Also, we want to invite all of you in the back to sit down and stay a while.
Who would like to be on Stack? For questions for Angela.
Hi, Miss Davis. Professor
Hi, Miss Davis.
Thank you for all your work. My friend Angela and I just came from Zuccotti Park. And we're struggling and working to plan a day of action that amplifies all of what you just said. And fuses together the oppressions. That affect women. That affect trans people. That affect people of every color. And every nation of origin. And every difference that exists in this world. But disproportionately it affects them more than the people that are seen on TV screens and in the newspaper about this movement. How do you suggest that we effectively fuse these concerns without further marginalizing some or muting their voices, but bring attention to this connected but very different set of issues and make real cultural change. Thank you.
That is a complicated question. That is the question. You are working out through your practice. That is what I meant. When I said that we have to learn how to be together in a complex unity. In a unity that does not erase our differences. In a unity that allows those whose voices have been historically marginalized to speak out on behalf of the entire community. I am sure that as the days and months go by, we will all learn more about this process than we know now. It is important that this movement expresses the will of the majority from the outset. But that majority must be respected in terms of all of the differences within.
Next on Stack is Linda.
Hi, I'm Linda.
Hi, I'm Linda.
I'd like to thank
do at Occupy Wall Street.
To support the work that you do to end the industrialized prison complex.
Any
ideas?
There is a lot that you can do.
There is a lot that you can do
to end the prison industrial complex. Education will help to end the prison industrial complex. Housing. Jobs. Healthcare. Especially mental health care. All of these things will help to make the prison obsolete.
Next on stack is Ethan.
Hi. My question is also about the prison industrial complex. As an activist, you courageously served time, for a long time, in your struggle. How should we approach using the prison system as a tactic when participating in direct action, recognizing that for many in the movement, the ability to be arrested is a great privilege and can cause weird dynamics. Because for so many, they're enslaved by that system. So how do you propose, or how do you suggest that activists carefully deal with that dynamic when using civil disobedience as a tactic?
Another complex question. First of all, I think it is important to take prison abolition seriously. We can begin to add prison abolition to all of our radical political agendas. As far as civil disobedience is concerned, it must be taken seriously as well. It should not happen simply because it seems dramatic. It should happen in order to further a particular goal. And I understand that there is a new app. I got arrested. Am I right? You are right. It is important to have contacts in the larger community. Lawyers, community activists, other people who will respond when civil disobedience happens. It should be organized, and it should happen for a reason. In the meantime, we call for prison abolition. Say, free Mumia. Hi.
Hi.
I'm Janelle.
I'm Janelle.
And my question is to Ms. Davis.
My question is to Ms. Davis.
How do you propose
How do you propose
to shake the apathy
to shake the apathy
of young people of color
of young people of color
around the nation
around the nation
so that they get involved?
so that they get involved?
And how
And
do you shake the apathy
how do you shake the apathy
of the celebrities of this nation,
of the celebrities of this nation,
especially those who come from
especially those who come from
poorer and underserved communities
poorer and underserved communities
that still need their help?
that still need their help?
People like Kanye West
People like Kanye
and
West
Jay-Z
and Jay-Z
who prefer to rap
who prefer to rap
about riches and wealth
about riches and wealth
when those who serve them
when those who serve
are
them
still in poverty.
are still in poverty.
And how do we make this movement
And how do we make this movement
inclusive so everyone
inclusive so everyone
feels that they can provide
feels that they can provide
for everyone
for everyone
and that everyone's included
and that everyone's
and
included
that everyone's going to be served
and that everyone's going to be served
when we fix this system?
when we fix this system?
Woo! Your question is both about inclusiveness
It's both about inclusiveness
and about exerting pressure
and about exerting pressure
on those
on those
who don't necessarily want
who don't necessarily want
to be included.
to be included.
The more we build the movement,
The more we build the movement,
the more those who are staying away
the more those who are staying away
will feel compelled to join us.
will feel compelled to join us.
The real question, I believe,
The real question, I believe,
is to insist on inclusiveness,
is to insist on inclusiveness,
not only formally,
not only formally,
but
but
by demonstrating
by demonstrating
that we can all
that we can all
be fluent
be fluent
in each other's stories.
in each other's stories.
To use a quote from Jackie Alexander,
To use a quote from Jackie Alexander,
we have to become fluent
We have to become fluent
in each other's stories.
in each other's stories.
Next on stack.
Next on stack,
Right here.
right here.
Hi, my name is Esther.
Hi, my name is Esther.
My question is similar.
My question is similar.
I was wondering if you had any words
I was wondering if you had any
for
words
people of color
for people of color
who may not be here
who may not be here
because they feel somehow disempowered,
because they feel somehow disempowered,
because they normally have not had the privilege
because they normally have not had the privilege
or feel comfortable taking up space.
or feel comfortable taking up space.
And also, how do leaderless movements
And also, how do leaderless movements
affect traditionally marginalized people?
affect traditionally marginalized people?
That is the question.
That is the question.
I am not sure I have the answer,
I am not sure I have the answer,
but I can say
but I can say
that it is important
that it is important
to insist on the involvement
to insist on the
of
involvement
people of color,
of people of color,
of women,
of women,
of marginalized, of people with marginalized sexuality,
people with marginalized sexuality,
of immigrants,
of immigrants,
and especially undocumented immigrants.
and especially undocumented immigrants.
Everyone
Everyone
has to be willing
has to be willing
to listen to their voices.
to their voices.
Those who have traditionally
exercised
privilege
have
to become conscious
conscious
of the way that privilege can continue to be marginalizing. So this is work we must all do.
Next on stack. Right here.
So in a couple of months, I think the population's attention will start to turn to the electoral process. And the Democrats like to front. Like they are against the big banks and Wall Street. I would like to hear your thoughts. On how we can get involved politically. Whether through third parties. Or any other way you think we can intervene.
This is one way. The two-party system has never worked. It does not work now. And we clearly need alternatives. Personally, I believe we need a powerful, radical third party. In the meantime, this movement, which is not a party, can accomplish much that political parties are unable to accomplish. And so it would seem to me that the best way to exert pressure on that corrupt two-party system is to continue to build this movement and to demonstrate that it reaches not only across the country, but across the oceans, and connects with people who are struggling in the Middle East, and connects with people who are struggling in Africa, and in Europe, and in Australia, and in Latin America. That, I think, is the best way to put pressure on the political system right now.
Next on stack. Michael Adams.
I have always been against capitalism! I think capitalism is selfish and greedy.
I think we should render money useless.
Use the barter system like our ancestors did. And I want to know what's your take on that. And again, I was a corporate slave. I worked for a big corporation.
Corporate slave. I worked for a big corporation.
And I don't anymore.
And I want to hear your answer on capitalism.
I agree with you that capitalism sucks. And for the majority of my life, The overwhelming majority. Since I was a student. In high school. Right here in Greenwich Village. I have said. Along with thousands and millions of others. Down with capitalism. But we need a more complex alternative. What about barterism? I think we need I agree that eventually we should be able to exist without money. And we should imagine a time when money becomes obsolete. In the meantime, there is a whole range of issues that can define our radical struggles. But I agree. Down with capitalism. Thank you, Ms. Gates.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tishi. Hi, Professor Davis. Thank you for speaking with us today. And allowing me the opportunity to ask you a question. What is your opinion of the language of Occupy Wall Street? What implications does the word occupy have on this greater global movement? Considering the history of colonial rule. What role does language have in making this movement sustainable, political, and inclusive? Thank you.
A great question. We challenge language. We transform language. We remain aware of all of the resonances of the language we use. We know that the movement in Puerto Rico is raising the slogan unoccupied. We must be aware when we say Occupy Wall Street that this country was founded on the genocidal occupation of indigenous lands. We must be aware when we say Occupy Wall Street or Occupy Washington Square that occupations in other countries are violent and brutal. Palestine remains occupied territory. And we have to learn how to say no. To military occupations. At the same time, we transform the meaning of occupation. We turn occupation into something that is beautiful. Something that brings community together.
Something that brings community together.
Something that calls for love.
Something that calls for love.
And happiness.
And happiness.
And hope.
And hope.
What about the right of women to vote?
What about the right?
What about the right of women to vote in other countries? How do we feel about that?
How do we feel about that?
No. All women should have the right to vote.
All women should have the right to vote.
That should be understood.
That should be understood.
Although you are right.
Although you are right.
That in many places.
That in many places.
Including here in the U.S.
Including here in the U.S.
It was such a bummer.
Women do not have access.
Women do not have access
to vote.
What about the Middle East? What about the Middle East? What about some countries of the Middle East?
As I said, it should be understood.
It should be understood
that women should have the right to vote everywhere.
that women should have the right to vote everywhere.
And we should all support that right.
And we should all support that right
Everywhere.
everywhere.
But there are many other issues as well.
But there are many other issues as well.
Oftentimes,
Oftentimes,
the assumption is that democracy means the right to vote.
the right to vote.
But it should mean much more.
But it should mean much more.
And I think this movement is developing new, more creative strategies for democracy.
Next on stack. This woman in the white scarf.
It's the woman in the white scarf.
Hi. It's an honor as well.
It's an honor as well.
I don't want to beat a dead horse,
I don't want to be the dead horse,
but I want to be real.
but I want to be real.
How do we navigate or reconcile
Navigate or reconcile
what we call complex unity
what we call complex unity
with the reality
with the reality
that equality or progress or
that equality or progress
necessitates
a
redistribution of fill in the blank, voluntary or otherwise, from those who have more, fill in the blank.
Thank you for the question. That, it seems to me, is what this movement is all about. How to transform formal equality into substantive equality. Into real equality. And so we stand behind calls for housing, free education, the decommodification of education, and healthcare. But we also call for the use of the imagination. Demands for jobs. Demands for justice. Equality. Freedom. That, it seems to me, is what this movement is about. Freedom. And the redefinition of freedom.
Next on stack. Right here.
Revolution Revolutions and uprisings have come and passed, only to arrive full circle with another revolution. It seems to me that we're on the cusp of something really great. So my question is, what can we do to make this not just another revolution, but something that will sustain us and humankind?
Good question. But I think it would be great if this could be another revolution. But I understand your question. Drawing from the past, inhabiting the present, imagining the future, will allow this movement to move us forward. We never know what the future is going to bring. We can never fully know the possible consequences of our activism. The scholar activist Stuart Hall has said that there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees. But we have to act as if. Act as if it were possible. To build a future. Which reflects our dreams. Our aspirations. Our imaginations.
Next on stack. Right here.
Given the attention to the electoral process, I understood that we should vote for a third party. But would there be more power? In choosing to not vote at all.
I'm glad you asked me to clarify. Because when I said that we need a third party, a radical party, I was projecting toward the future. And while I think independent political parties play an important role today, I also have to say that we cannot allow a Republican to take office. Don't we remember what it was like when Bush was president? That was only a few years ago. And as much as we can say that Obama has disappointed us, it is a qualitatively different situation. And so I think the best way to put pressure on the Obama administration is to continue to build this movement. This movement reflects the forces that made it possible for Obama to be elected in the first place. Let us not forget that. And let us continue to build this movement so that it embraces trade unions. So that it embraces people who are in churches. Of course, students. And movements. And everyone. If we say the 99%, we have to commit ourselves to organizing the 99%.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. For all you have done. For us and. Continue to do. For us. I think you are a shining example of serious study and reflection that we should all take up. I have recently started reading the Communist Manifesto as part of my own study. I know that at one time you identified as a member of the Communist Party. And I am sure you are familiar with this particular set of ideas. I am intrigued with the idea of the dangerous class. The social scum that passively rotting mass that may occasionally be swept into the movement by a proletarian revolution. Its conditions of life, however, prepare it far more for the part of a bribed tool of reactionary intrigue. Can you give us three potential ideas for how the Occupy Wall Street movement can investigate our own potential to be part of the dangerous class?
Three. Number one. The slogan. I am Troy Davis. Troy Davis. As he faced death at the hands of the state. Offered us the possibility of continuing the movement against capital punishment in his memory. So that is one way. I have been active in the prison abolition movement for many years. This year is the 40th anniversary of the Attica uprising. It is perhaps serendipitous that this movement takes shape 40 years after Attica. Become a part of the dangerous class by studying the way in which Prisoners in Attica.
40 years ago.
Black prisoners. Latino prisoners. White prisoners. Native American prisoners. Came together in community. In democratic community. To call for radical change. That is the second way. I can give you many, many more ways. But you only asked for three. Identify with undocumented immigrants. That is another way. Identify with trans people who are arrested at a greater rate than any other group of people in this country. That is my fourth way. I can give you many, many more ways. But I think I will stop here. I think you get my drift.
Once again, thank you for coming down. This is a huge pleasure. And I brought my daughter so she can witness this. My question is, what do you suggest we have? As a welcome mat to our conservative brothers and sisters. To let them know that we are all in this together.
Some of them get it.
There is conservative. And there is conservative. My strategy has always been to bring those who are most receptive into the movement. And the larger we get, the more those who are conservative will